Here we go. This is the week 7 quiz access, chapter 3. I'm just going to work through it for you. Sometimes the adjusting entries can be a little confusing, so I'll try to just talk through the process. So the first entry is on April 1st, the company hires an attorney for a flat monthly fee of $1,000. Payment for the April legal services won't be made. It says was made, but I think it's easier to read. It won't be made until May 12th of next month. Prepare the required adjusting entry. So we have to look here at this date and say, all right, we're paying this on April 30th. And so, but we actually won't have to pay money to this guy until May 12th. So on April 30th, we have to recognize that we've incurred the expense for the legal services. So we're going to debit legal services expense. And if we were just paying cash for it, we would credit cash. But since we're not going to pay until next month, we will credit legal services payable. Again, all of these adjusting entries are just to help us to recognize expenses that we've incurred during the month or revenues we've earned, even if we haven't got the cash for them yet. So these adjusting entries always kind of have to do with either expenses incurred or revenues earned but we haven't got the cash at the time. Or sometimes they also have to do with when we get cash in advance or pay cash in advance of incurring the expense. So anyway, so that's our first one. And so I'm going to record that entry. And then on May 12th, they want us to record what it's going to look like when we actually pay the legal fees. So now at this point, we're going to debit the legal services payable. So we're getting rid or paying off the liability, and our cash will go down at that point. So we'll credit cash. All right, as of April 30th, $897 of interest expense has accrued on a note payable. The full interest payment of $2,692 is due on May 20th. Prepare the required adjusting entry, if any. So again, we need to recognize we have this interest expense during the month of April, even though we're not going to pay cash for it till May. And so we're going to record interest expense and interest payable of $897. Now to record the payment of interest, we're gonna record the full payment. I'm gonna view the transaction list because I forgot the numbers already. So we're gonna record the full payment of $2,692, but $897 of the interest we already claimed as an expense back in April. So we're gonna have to claim the rest of the interest during the month of May. So it's gonna look like this. Our interest payable is going to go down or be debited $897. We're going to have an interest expense, which I'll figure out in a second during this month. And then our cash is going to go down because we're going to be paying out cash. The amount of that cash, again, was $2,692. That's the total amount of interest we're paying, $2,692. So the amount that is interest expense this month will just be $2,692 minus $897, or $1,795. So if we were to try to translate this journal entry into everyday English, we would say, hey, I paid out $2,692 worth of cash, or of cash. 897 of it was for interest that I incurred last month but hadn't paid yet, and 1,795 is for interest I've incurred this month. And that's what that journal entry means. So we'll record that. All right, the total weekly salaries expense for all employees is $12,000. This amount is paid at the end of the day on Friday of each 5-day week. April 30th falls on a Tuesday, which means that employees have worked 2 days since the last payday. So here what we're recognizing is come the end of the month, April 30th, we have incurred 2 days worth of expense of employees working that we need to claim as an expense during April, even though payday is not going to come till next week on May 3rd. So to figure out how much that is, I'm going to take the full 12,000, recognize that that's for a 5-day work week. So I'll divide that by 5. That'll give me the daily amount of payroll. And then I'll multiply that by the number of days in the month that we're actually paying for right now, or that we're recording as an expense right now, which is 2. So we're going to have an interest expense of 4,800 and an interest. Sorry. We're going to have a salaries expense of 4,800 and a salaries payable of 4,800. Now on May 3rd, when we actually pay that money out, we'll get rid of that salaries payable by debiting it. We're going to have a salary expense for any salary expense we've incurred during the month of May. And our cash will go down by the full $12,000 weekly payroll. So the amount of salaries expense will just be the total 12,000 minus the 4,800. So again, if we were to translate that into plain English, we would say I paid out $12,000 in cash. 4,800 was for salary expenses that I incurred last month, and 7,200 was for salary expenses I've incurred so far this month. Check my work to make sure I didn't make a mistake. Been known to happen. And we're all good. So I hope that was helpful to you. And if you have other questions, don't be afraid to reach out for help.